Hello and welcome to today's episode of Two Pigs in a Pod, a podcast for the people of glazing by the people of glazing. I hope you know by now, but I'm the host of this podcast. My name's George, and joining me today is Nat Weaver. Welcome to the show, Nat.
Hello, thank you, George. Thank you for having me on. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. You okay?
Yeah, not bad at all. Not bad. Sorry, I think that's little satellite delays come back a little bit then. So yeah, all good. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, we'll start off with the easy question first of who you are and what you do within our industry.
Yeah. So as you said, my name's Nat Weaver. I'm director and owner of Ashfen Windows and Doors based in Derby, and that's been the case now for, blimey, what year are we in? 2.5 years. Time flies. So we have a manufacturing unit. We're located in a really really well known kind of industrial area in Derby, just on the outskirts of the centre, and we've got a manufacturing unit. So we manufacture PVC windows and doors. And supply to both trade and retail, and we've managed to expand our offer so that we can fit, and we're now FENSA registered as well. As of a couple of months ago, which there's been lots of changes for us over the last 6 months, 6-7 months or so. Yeah.
Okay, nice. And the age-old question we always ask is, how did you get into the industry?
Oh God, it was a bit. I'm not really sure, to be honest.
There's always the answer.
Not really sure how this happened. So I suppose the fairly concise version is Nick and I have done. We've renovated properties for years together. We've been together a long time, and I think he was really struggling. When we were looking at the window and door side of things, there was something that the supplier at the time couldn't do. I can't quite remember because I was kind of in the day job at that point. And there was something that the supplier at the time couldn't do. And I think he was really struggling to find, his experience was that you either got really good customer service or a really good product, and it was really difficult to find the two. So sometimes he'd come home and be really frustrated because he'd been kind of badgering people for quotes for the last 8 days and that sort of thing, and or he'd get really good customer service but the product wasn't that great and it wasn't really something that he wanted to fit either for any of our properties, or we used to run a building company, so any of our customers. We sort of thought it was one of those conversations you have over dinner, really. I remember it was sort of like wonder if we could set something up, a mouthful of chips and peas, and all right, watch a bit of TV, and I think it had sort of planted a bit of a seed, and then really weirdly, there's a really well known local business based in Derby who'd been going since the early 80s, and they manufactured PVC and made their own glass. And Nick's known the owners for a long time, and the owner he happened to speak to him about something, and the owner just happened to say, well, I'm shutting down the plastic side of it. And Nick came home and he said, you will never guess what, literally days after we'd been speaking about, wouldn't it be funny if we had the opportunity to give this a go? And it really started from there. He had a load of machinery he needed to get rid of, and that was it. We managed to coerce him into keeping order for a bit longer than he wanted to, I think, while we found a unit. And before we knew it, we were fitting out number 15 Dunstall Park Road, and the machinery was all booked in to be moved. And it just feels like it all happened quite quickly. It's all been a bit of a whirlwind, to be honest.
Yeah, and what was your career before you got into this industry, or you sort of ended up getting into this? What was you doing before that?
Oh, well, I mean, I was a million miles away from. Well, yeah, I suppose on paper a million miles away. So I've been working in child protection for a long time. I was a child protection family therapist, so working with, not very nice sounding job really, but working with the families that were at significant risk of losing their children into the care system, and trying to work with the parents to kind of provide a much better sort of quality of life for the children. And I've been doing that for a long time in various guises. So I think I always think in that kind of career, because I'd been a prison officer from quite a young age, and then worked in youth offending, and then worked in child protection. And I think that kind of work is either, in my experience, the kind of work that you're going to do for the rest of your life until you retire and possibly beyond,
Yeah.
or it's got a shelf life. And I think I had to kind of concede that I was one of the people that had got fatigue from that kind of work. And you know, I've always really liked the idea of doing something for ourselves. You know, I've always loved doing property up with Nick, so I thought, well, the opportunity to, you know, run kind of a more formal feeling business, if you like, just felt really exciting.
Yeah, no. And do you think that you all everything that you knew about glazing in the first instance was from Nick? That was all you knew is from what he would have told you?
Yeah, and what he told me before we started this was almost non-existent. I could just about tell the difference between a piece of clear glass and a piece of frosted glass, and that would have been a really good achievement for me. That was a good day. So I mean, knew absolutely diddly squat about anything to do with glazing. I remember when we first set the business up. No, I think it was actually when I'd first started full time, because we'd set the business up, and then there was a period where Nick was kind of doing it on his own, and somehow, and then I was doing all the back office stuff while working full time in the child protection job. And I remember Nick walking around. We were walking the dog, and we were going past people's houses, and he was trying to get me to tell the differences between a composite door, a full plastic moulded panel, and a plastic door with a mid-rail glass and panel at the bottom. I just didn't get what I was looking at. I was sort of, absolutely over my head. Walking past people's houses, kind of staring gormlessly towards their front door. They must have thought I was really weird. But yeah, it's just funny in such a short space of time what I've managed to pick up from knowing nothing.
Yeah. And do you think like that surprised you, that actually how much sort of technical knowledge is within this industry? I guess like for the normal person like yourself, before you entered the industry, it was just a window or just a door, but actually there's so much more to it.
I don't know if it surprised me, and I guess the only reason I don't think it did so much is just having, even though I'm no builder, and I've never actually worked in the construction industry per se, just being with Nick, who's always been in the building trade and always having done houses up, you kind of get a different perspective that there's a lot more to something that just looks like, you know, a window or a door or whatever. So I don't know whether it surprised me that there was more to it. I just was such a blank canvas, and I think one of the hardest things for me, I'm 41. I realise now that my capacity for learning quickly isn't what it was at 20. I have to admit that, even though I still feel very young. That was there are times when I've just thought, this is not going in. I can feel my brain literally powering down. So I think that was one thing that I had to admit. And I think it was just, knowing, trying to get to grips with, this is so, I'd done the same kind of work for so long that even though it might sound really different going from prison service to youth offending to child protection, it's not. Actually, the work is really similar, and I did that for just over 20 years. And I think what I'd kind of become a bit complacent about is it's been a long time since I've learned something completely new. Everything up until that point had been a bit of a variation of a theme or a bit of a sidestep, but this was totally alien to me. My brain doesn't work from a construction point of view. I'm more of a pen pusher.
Yeah. No, I can see you come from. I definitely agree with you. Like, yeah, to sort of that learn that new thing
Yeah,
is great, isn't it? Sometimes to actually maybe push you outside your boundaries and learn something new is, yeah. I think you always want to do that,
yeah,
just to, yeah, not do the same thing day in day out.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And moving on to the day job, is there anything that screams out as the favorite part of your job? Is there something that you think, oh, I love coming to work to do that bit, whether it's a one off or you don't do it very often, or something you do every day?
I mean, I love the front facing side of the job. The way that our unit is designed isn't ideal, really. We, in the sense that not only are we a small team, but there's no kind of upstairs office. You're either in reception or you're in the manufacturing unit or the loo. So you've
Yeah.
really got only
Yeah.
those three places to choose from.
Yeah. It's only can hide away in the toilet.
Yeah, if I'm not answering the phone, I'm hiding in the loo. Um, but I think the customer facing stuff has always been. I've always either been in retail. I worked in a care home when I was younger. All of the roles that I talked about earlier are all very front facing customers. You've got to
Yeah.
be really, really personable to win over people like that, and get them to let you in the house, for example, to even have a
Yeah.
conversation. So I think one of the things I've always been really confident in is dealing with people. So I do like the element of kind of I'm sitting at the desk at the front, and then you get the foot traffic in, either your delivery guys or your customers, or so I really like that bit of it. I think I would struggle. We're meant to be building a mezzanine. That it's
Okay.
ready, and Nick keeps joking that he's going to shove me up there away from
No,
it.
no, I don't want to go
I
there.
don't want to go there. I need to at least pop down. So I'd say that was my favourite part of the job. Yeah, the front facing side.
Okay, and the least favorite part of your job is there anything that you're allowed to say to
Oh yeah.
that you're not so keen on?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think it sounds like a bit of a cop out, really, but the thing that I'm not so keen on, my brain isn't wired to. Um, I don't know, it kind of manually putting things together. So when I think about things from a manufacturing point of view, that takes a lot for me to grasp.
Yeah,
Anything that's written word, academia, that kind of stuff, I can write a court report in my sleep. But when when I first started and I was trying to figure out, like I say, how when you look at a door, a plastic door, and I was trying to figure out how those different components are put together, that's Nick's
yeah,
domain. We're like yin and
yeah,
yang. He,
yeah. That's what I was going to say. Is that why why the business has been successful is because you cover all bases between the both of you.
I think that's absolutely right. I think that's hit the nail on the head, and it feels like a really clean line where
Yeah,
with very little there is some overlap, but it's everything I can't do he can do, everything he can't do I can do. So there's always one of us to pick the slack up where we're struggling.
yeah,
So I think, yeah, in that sense we really do complement one another. But I think it means that my least favourite part is because that doesn't come naturally to me. It takes me a long time to process kind of any elements of the job that do need that kind of putting things together
yeah,
knowledge. Yeah, that's quite
yeah.
hard for me.
Okay, and moving on to talk about the industry in general, you're right on the front line. You're speaking to, like you said, customers every day, and what. How does it look to you? We've heard lots of stories, lots of negative stories, unfortunately, and a lot of people that say actually it's been a difficult start, but things are starting to pick up over summer and looking a bit stronger over the rest of the year. How does it look from your point of
Well,
view?
you've got to remember, my perspective is skewed for several reasons. One, we were a total pair of idiots that started a business from scratch as soon after COVID as we possibly could. That wasn't intentionally
Yeah,
timed that way, but it was almost like it was waiting for us to be able to do that straight after COVID, when everything was so uncertain. So what I'm missing is the bit before that.
Yeah.
the number of years before that. So that's one thing that kind of skews my perception of the industry a little bit. I think the second thing that skews my perception to a degree is the fact that I make no bones about the fact that we are still a very small outfit in our unit.
Yeah.
So what that means is for us is that rather than Nick and I kind of, we say we're directors because we are directors, but we're about as shop floor as you can possibly get. You ring our unit and it's either me or Nick that's going to answer, and that doesn't happen
Mhm.
for a lot of businesses. We haven't got a massive team behind us. We haven't got a layer of management underneath us that kind of run the show. It's us. So I think what
Yeah.
that prohibits me from doing at times is kind of keeping an ear to the ground as much as I would like to. And, some of the events that we'd love to be able to attend and some of the things that we'd love to be able to read up on. Sometimes you're so engrossed in the shop floor, in the minutiae, that you miss some of that. But I think what I
Mm.
can say is that from my perspective, it's been really interesting because with it being a new industry for me, like you say, being in that front facing role, it's interesting talking to particularly our trades customers who I get really mixed, and talking to a lot of our suppliers as well, I get a really mixed bag. And I think I would say it's been about 6 months now where I've been talking to people and the middle ground seems to be missing. So I feel like I'm having loads and loads of conversations where people are struggling.
Mm.
Either our trades customers, some of our suppliers, you can sometimes see that when they start reaching out to you a little bit because they've got time, because things are a little bit quieter. You get a lot more people, if they've supplied you with a quote for something that we don't manufacture, we get a lot more follow-ups in a shorter space of time. So you kind of go, okay, things are a bit quiet. But then the flip side of that is I have a lot of conversations where people there literally are not enough hours in the day.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I echo that with people that I speak to. There is no middle ground. It's
no,
a good way to put it. That it's either things are really good or yeah, struggling a bit. But
yeah,
yeah, it seems a funny old time in our industry. But what's good about our industry is that we always sort of get out of it.
yeah,
If you get what I mean,
yeah,
there's always that way that we do like no one else in terms of finding the route, the good way out.
yeah,
So yeah, I've got no qualms in that. Hopefully it'll be a good for most people
yeah.
for the rest of this year, obviously, and going into next year and beyond.
Yeah, I think the key thing is that when I do get a chance to kind of, even if it's quickly whiz through some of the glazing publications and some of the fenestration publications, the innovation is there, the ideas are coming and they're constant, and I get really excited about new stuff because Nick and I have always Nick's brilliant. It's like having again, we complement each other because he's a brilliant strategic manager. I'm great at operations.
Yeah,
He'll have the weird and wonderful ideas, and then I'll go, yeah, I'll make a phone call tomorrow morning, or I'll send an email, or I'll start that ball rolling. But one of the
yeah,
things that me and Nick really enjoy about the industry is that the scope for new ideas and the scope that we have even as a small business for really pushing something that customers can't necessarily easily get elsewhere. It might be available, but we
yeah,
wanted to kind of really stick ourselves in a position where we could create in exclusive partnerships with people. And if you want that product, we're the only person in the East Midlands that can offer you that. Or we've started doing this
yeah.
project, and that's exciting. So it's innovative, and you read about those kinds of things every week when you get the publications through in your inbox.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And if you had to describe our industry, obviously you've only been in it for a few years, but in the time that you've been in it, like how would you describe it in 3 words? It's not that easy, but yeah, if there was 3 words or any words to describe how you felt in the few years that you've been in.
Is a bit busy from my perspective.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
really busy. That's just one word. That's not three. Um, Exciting,
Hmm.
and I would say I would say fluid, because there is a lot of
Okay.
change, and it's improvement. It's fluid. I think is a good one.
Nice. Okay. And we'll move on to, I guess you can call it a second job for you now, is you're joining the team for Kilimanjaro. That's just in a few weeks when we're doing this recording. So yeah, how can you explain firstly why you're doing it, and a bit more about how training's gone, and how you're feeling about it?
Yeah. So I guess the reason for me doing it is I came over to see Sarah and Andy at Balls to Marketing. I think I really innocently, this is what happened. I really innocently walked in for a coffee and walked out with having signed up for this. It
Yeah,
was as quick
that doesn't sound surprising in the slightest, knowing Sarah and Andy of
how does
going
that
to Balls to
happen?
Market and ended up somewhere else, doing something.
They're very good. I don't know. I don't know what they put in my coffee, but yeah, it worked. Because
Yeah,
initially we were talking about kind of cycling and stuff, and I'm active. Any opportunity, and you can probably hear I've got a whippet that's tanking up and down the stairs now. She's getting all impatient with me, but any opportunity I get to be out and about, usually with her, or cycling or running. So we kind of got talking about that, and then it was that whole thing really initially about, oh yeah, why not, and then the more I thought about it, your brain kind of presents all these reasons to not do something, because then there's this other side of you
yeah,
that kicks in going, don't be so ludicrous, you wouldn't be able to do that. And it was Nick that we were sat on a train. We were going to meet some friends in Matlock for some dinner, and I was sort of waffling. He says, how are you getting on with signing up for it? And I was waffling on about, oh, this. And he said, sorry, why are you not doing it again? What are you on about?
yeah,
And that was the moment when I emailed Sarah and just said, right, I'm in. Don't ring me though, because I'm going out for dinner, and I'm not quite sure what I'm signing myself up for. But I think learning about the charity Kelly's Heroes, I was familiar with them anyway from my previous child protection work, and obviously in all of those kinds of jobs that I've done previously, um, suicide prevention and mental health has been, it's not an understatement when I say it was threaded through absolutely every single conversation that I had with families, with prisoners, with kids coming through the youth offending service. It featured in every case note I wrote. It featured in every report I ever wrote, featured in every meeting I ever chaired. It's part of our fabric, and I think I have to remember
yeah,
sometimes that that's not the case for some people. It's absolutely interwoven in everything I think and do. And suicide
yeah,
prevention was a massive part of our work, safety planning, even for kids and adults. I would have to do that when we were on call, suicide prevention, 3 o'clock in the morning. So again, it was a
yeah,
really key thing. So it seemed like an absolute no-brainer to support a charity like that when I've been so involved with that kind of work. Um,
yeah.
so yeah, that seemed to come really naturally. I think your second question about how's the training going, I think this is really hard because you're so kind of in your own little bubble, like I was saying earlier.
Mentally preparing yourself that you sort of not sure what else is how you
Yeah,
feel compared to everyone
I don't
else.
really know. And actually, that's probably a good thing, because I think then you start to go down a road of I'm not doing enough, or which I think is really
Yeah,
dangerous, because one of the things I said to myself right from the word go, I'm running a business. I'm getting up at 5:30, 5:45 every morning. I'm there until, well, today was a miracle because I'm home by 4 for
yeah,
this, and even when I'm home half an hour after the unit closes, we shut at 3:30, the laptop's open, I'm taking work phone calls, I'm sorting the diary out for the following day. So, Nick will
yeah,
still be at the unit until 7 o'clock at night. So I had to be realistic about what I could fit in. And
yeah,
I think I've managed to do a lot more. There aren't many hills, George, around where we live, but I've managed to find some, even with a
yeah.
slight
You've
gradient.
scoped them out.
So I was people have seen me kind of tanking up and down these teeny weeny hills and lumps of mud in my
Oh,
training t-shirt.
people have seen you like myself on social media as well. We've seen your videos of you with the dog and without the dog and stuff like that.
Poor
So
bloody dog.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's been
sorry,
impressive.
Lily. Yeah, so I think, and I mean, the other thing is, I was gutted that I signed up just after the team had done Snowdon, so I missed that. But I managed to get on Scarfell. I mean, again, Andy and Sarah, so helpful organising these trips where we've done Scarfell, we've done Yorkshire
Yeah.
Three Peaks in a day. I had to have a week off exercising, but I never thought for 1 second that I would do something like that. So I think actually, I've been running for longer than I ever have done, because ever since lockdown I did start doing a lot more anyway, and it kind of became sort of second nature. But maybe the training is actually going really well. Maybe I'm as ready as I could be.
Okay, and how is Nick feeling now that you're only a few weeks away from it? How does he feel from a personal point of view and from a business
I
point of
don't
view? I
know,
guess
not
when it's just always been you two.
probably from a personal point of view, Nick's really, really supportive. From a personal point of view, it'll be, if I'd have ever turned this down, all of us would be fibbing if we didn't say, if we said that our reasons for doing this were purely altruistic. There's definitely a
Yeah.
combination of wanting to help this charity for me, but also what an
Yeah.
opportunity. And Nick's great
All
because
right.
he's like, for God's sake, you've got to go. You've got to go, regardless of
Yeah.
what you need to do or whatever, what we need to buy. Or from a business point of view, I've not asked him. I've just started prepping for it silently in a corner. So I
Yeah.
am drafting people in to, there's a lot more. Nick started out running this business, running that unit on his own, but we were just starting out. And, as you'll
Yeah.
know, the more, the further down the line you get running a business, the more processes are in place, the more admin's in place, So I have drafted somebody in to kind of help with that. But do you know what? It's 7 working days. Be
Yeah.
fine. It better be. It'll have to be.
Yeah. It needs to be.
It'll have to be.
Yeah. And speaking of just not doing it for various reasons, at the time of speaking, you're up to about sort of £49,000 altogether as a team that you've raised.
Mad is
One,
that?
can you believe how much money you've raised, and two, like how generous this sector is?
It sounds like such a cliche, and I feel a bit cringy saying this, but honestly, this is genuine. I had a 2.5 grand target, and I had to up it to 3.5, and I've still
Yeah,
from a personal level, I've still exceeded that. I remember doing run 50 miles in January thing for Maggie's cancer charity a couple of years ago. And I couldn't believe that all my mates and family helped me raise 200 quid. And yet here I am. I log on to that Just Giving page, and there's
yeah,
£3,800 just that I've raised that people.
yeah,
And I mean, it started out with friends and family. You say, you better sponsor me. I'll remember if you don't
yeah,
sponsor me.
yeah,
Friends and family, and then your staff in the back. And then I started having conversations about with suppliers, and then the postman at home, and then the postman at the unit. There's a racket every time he comes in because he throws all his spare change in there, which actually I think there's a few £2 coins have gone in there. And then, I mean, I don't know whether you saw on LinkedIn a few weeks ago. This is just one example. It's not the first time it's happened, where somebody I don't even know, and I'm trying
yeah.
to hunt this person down, and I've never had a conversation with them. And I'm going, look, you've given me X amount of pounds. Who are you? Please
Who are you?
name
Yeah,
yourself so I can say thank you. And it's somebody in the industry who I've got no working relationship with, but he just happened to dive onto my LinkedIn profile, saw what we were doing, and donated 50 quid. And I just
yeah,
thought, I never would have expected that in a million years. And people have been so ridiculously supportive. And the generosity, everything from £5 to £500, and you
Yeah.
just think. So there's
Yeah.
obviously a lot of value to this charity, of course.
Yeah, definitely, and it's just amazing from looking from sort of the outside that that there's I was speaking to Sarah about how many people across and obviously you can see on the Just Giving page that there's like 625 people that have separately donated to one of you of the team, and
It's
that that's a
ludicrous.
lot of people like that have given up their money when times are tight in the industry and in life in
Yeah.
general, and they're willing to give up the
This is
money.
their wages. They're
Yeah,
they're going and doing a food shop at Asda, and then they're coming home and they're donating £50 to somebody's Just Giving link. That really isn't to be sniffed at. But again, it brings me back. There's so much interest when I'm talking to people that have sponsored me in the charity, and it brings me back to there must be this collective consensus that it's mental health. It applies to every single one of us, whether you talk about it or not, whether you're articulate in it or not, whether you're, emotionally kind of in touch with where you're at right now, or maybe
yeah,
standing a bit of a distance. It doesn't matter. It still
yeah.
applies to you.
Everyone's got it, haven't they?
Everybody's got it.
Everyone,
And you can't say that
yeah,
about many things, that there's a lot of charities out there that maybe appeal to very specific kinds of people with very specific experiences, but there must be something about mental well-being where people do think, actually, yeah, that applies to me as well,
yeah,
um,
yeah, definitely.
yeah.
And obviously, the important question is there still time to donate? And if so, how can we donate to your page or to the group's page?
Yeah, definitely. So I believe that we'll still be taking sponsorships when we're up there, and I'm under the impression that actually applies for the duration of the trip, but I do need to check that. But yeah, even while we're out there, people can still donate if they've not done it already. So we've got I've got my own Just Giving page. I think there is a generic one, but I've got my own Just Giving page that comes up if you
Yeah,
search it in Google. So Nat Weaver, Just Giving, Kilimanjaro, Kelly's Heroes, all of those search terms will bring
yeah, and
will
we
bring
can
it
put it at
up.
the end as well of this episode
Yeah, we'll put the link
to
on.
definitely
Yeah,
get
yeah,
hopefully get a
definitely.
few more.
Definitely. And any amount is welcome.
Perfect.
Some people say really silly things like, oh, it's only a fiver. It's a fiver.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as it's only a certain amount.
Yeah, perfect. Well, thanks very much for that. Yeah, we'll move on to our quick fire question round. If you've seen our previous episodes, we like to go away from the sort of the hard hitting questions, I guess, and go in even harder questions like what's your favorite smell. But it's easy stuff, so hopefully you'll be fine. But so yeah, we'll go with that one. What is your favorite
Oh
smell?
my God. Warm cheese.
Nice, I
Cooking
like it.
some kind
Uh,
of cooking cheese, preferably cheese on toast under the grill, just at the point
yeah,
it's all started bubbling. It can only be
mm,
bettered if it's smothered in Worcester sauce.
nice, sounds
Yeah.
perfect. What do you prefer, talking over email or by phone? I think I know the answer to this question. Or might
Do like a bit of a chin wag. Yeah, I
yeah.
do like a chin
I
wag.
thought as a customer facing person, I thought yeah, it was easy going to be over in person would be best, I'm sure.
Absolutely. I don't mind an email if emails help me remember things. And usually I'll have a good old chinwag with somebody, but then I'll go, right, the bit of business that we talk then, I'm just going to put that in an email because we're so busy.
Yeah,
I might have forgotten that by tomorrow. So, yeah.
yeah. What's your favorite thing to do outside of work? Obviously, I mean, and there's probably a lot of walking at the moment, but outside of the climb and stuff, what's your favorite thing to do normally?
Music mainly. So I'm a bit of a gig bunny. So and I'll go on my own. I'm really lucky to live near some really good venues in Nottingham. So I'll usually
Yeah,
be lurking around any of those. Or I'm at Woollerton Park this weekend for a hacienda event, and I will just go on my own. Sometimes I'll ask people, oh, I've got a ticket for that. Did you want to grab one and come with me? And
yeah.
sometimes it's a bit of therapy for me. Yeah, that's my time out. So yeah, definitely music, live music, and eating.
Okay, and to keep on the music theme, what was the first gig you ever attended?
Oh, I was 13 years old, and I went to see just about to turn 14, and I went to see Blur, who were my absolute favourite band. You've got to ask me what the last gig I went to shortly. I was obviously young. It was at the NEC, as it was in Birmingham, and my mum took me, and we were seated.
Okay. And what is what's the last one that you've attended?
So the last one I ever attended was Blur because
okay, so nice circle moment.
Yeah, so they were I couldn't believe my luck. I turned 40 last year. God, I told you my brain doesn't fire as quickly as it used to 20 years ago. So I turned 40 last year, and I couldn't believe my luck that on the day that I was turning 40, they were playing at Wembley on the same day. And I just bought 2 tickets, didn't care who was going to come with me as long as I was there, and got to the front and loved every minute of it. So yeah, that was a bit of a weird circle. Yeah.
Nice. I guess or maybe I should, that with the recent news about
Oasis,
with the Blur and Oasis rivalry, are you a definite Blur
Definite Blur.
fan?
I always loved Oasis, but they're only doing that because Blur did it last year. So
yeah. Yeah. Well, thanks very much for that, Nat.
Thank you.
For the last part of our podcast, we like to give people a chance to shout out people. It can be people from the industry, it can be outside industry. We're happy for both, if you like. So please let me who you want to shout out.
Yeah, okay. So all right, thinking on my feet. First person's got to be Nick. I've never met a human being that works as hard and as tirelessly as him. And I'm not just saying that because I'm contracted to either. I'm saying don't tell him I said that.
He's like, you have to put that in.
Been together for a long time. I'm sure it's part of the contract. I think somebody who will always have a special place for me is Paul Godwin, and maybe you'll have to ask me one day. Maybe actually when you asked me earlier, how did you get into the glazing industry, I should have mentioned a slightly funny story, which I'll say for another time. But Paul Godwin is somebody that was really supportive of us from the offset, and it's really nice to stay in touch with him even now, which is lovely. And then I guess the obvious one, I mean, Sarah Ball, Andy Ball, and the whole of the Kilimanjaro crew. What the hell have we let ourselves in for? How hard everybody's worked, and crucially how hard Sarah and Andy have worked to keep it's hard to keep up an entire group's motivation and excitement, and they are absolutely nailing it. So got to give a big shout out to Sarah, Andy, and everybody that we're doing Killy with. It's going to be amazing. So yeah.
Perfect. Well, thanks very much, Nat. I
Thank
really
you.
enjoyed chatting to you today.
Me too.
And obviously, best of luck for Kilimanjaro. I know from speaking to Sarah and Andy and the rest of the team that you're going to smash it. You've got a really good team going up with all just sort of different personalities and stuff. I think it'll be definitely the adventure of a lifetime. I think, and look forward to hearing all about it when you're back.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you for having me. It's been lovely, George. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, that's it for today. So I hope you can join us for another episode soon. You can find Nat's episode and all other episodes on our YouTube channel, wherever you get your podcasts from, and on our website, www.peopleinglazing.co.uk. Well, thanks again to Nat for joining us, and I'll see you for another episode soon.